Hi everyone, it's Dr. 𝗪𝗂𝗪 and welcome to another episode of the Flex Audiology Show. So today we're going to talk about when you're told you have hearing loss, the next logical question is, well, what kind of hearing loss do I have? And today we're going to talk about two different types, conductive and sensory neural, because they are totally different. And one means you can be medically treated, and one means that we need to start talking about treatment options, including hearing aids. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to show you a visual here. This is your ear. So think of it as here's kind of what I'm looking into. And then if we could cut open your head, would be what the cross section would look like. So when you come in for an exam, we are trying to rule out conductive hearing losses. Conductive hearing losses can be medically treated. They're fixable. We love them because a lot of times it's just simply earwax. So if I'm looking in your ear, I'm going to look from here up to your actual eardrum. There's like a little bitty membrane right there. I'm hoping you guys can see this. And if there's earwax impeding the sound coming into your ear, we call that a conductive hearing loss, because we know if we turn it up loud enough, the sound waves are going to go all the way down and into your hearing organ. Also, if that eardrum, let's say it's punctured. So I get a lot of punctured eardrums from people who usually it's from an airplane. Maybe they had a sinus infection, they already had pressure in their ears, and then they're going up and down. It's a wild airplane ride. It's been known to puncture, okay? So then that's just a matter of waiting for it to heal on its own, or hope, maybe you have to go get it patched. Okay, and then beyond that, you have these bone structures back here. These bone structures, when the sound waves hits the eardrum, the bone structures, they vibrate, and it changes the sound waves into an electrical stimulus into your hearing organ, okay? So that moves it, so it's really called a mechanical conduction, and it comes over here. But if these bones are not working, that's also considered a conductive hearing loss. Again, can be treated through surgery, and it's just simply a matter of, of putting these bones back together. The most common one is a 𝗙𝗵𝗫𝗫ectomy, and that's where they actually replace what's called the little stirrup. It looks like a little horseshoe, okay? And then beyond that, if it's not, let's say there's not bone damage, especially in the Ohio Valley, there's a lot of sinus and allergy problems. If you live here and you do not have allergies, we need to figure out why you don't, because you are rare. So most of us have allergies after living in this area, and what will happen is that this little eustachian tube, this is what drains all the fluid from your ear. That eustachian tube will swell up, get real tight, and then the fluid is going to build up in that area, and then that will also create a conductive hearing loss. So again, we're looking at, is it just simply let's get a hold of the allergies so that will drain on its own? Do you have something else going on that's causing it not to drain? And sometimes physicians will put in a tube inside that eardrum area to help drain that fluid. So very common in little kiddos, but I see it in adults as well who have chronic ear infections in there. So those are going to be your most common types of a conductive hearing loss. They're medically treatable. We'd be referring you to see your physician to get that under control. Beyond that, now we're going to be looking at the sensory neural hearing loss. Sensory neural hearing loss is hearing loss that's going to happen here in that little snail-like organ. That's what we call it, a cochlea, and it looks like a little snail. And then these little three rings up here, that's your balance system. So it's all tied closely. But within that hearing organ, the cochlea, when we get damage to that area, that's when we're looking at treating you with hearing aid devices. Now, what can cause that? That can cause simply aging. Hearing loss due to aging starts around 34, 35, so it's not your traditional what we think of. Starts much, much younger. And then also occupational noise exposure and recreational noise exposure. So think of your farmers, your factory workers, people that like to shoot guns for enjoyment, or maybe they hunt. Anything where they're not properly protected from noise exposure can cause a sensory neural hearing loss. And then definitely certain medications. We have a lot of patients, unfortunately, had to go through cancer treatment, and some of those drugs are ototoxic, to where they damage the actual little snail organ there. And then just simply genetics, unfortunately. Sometimes that gets passed down, and we're dealing with an entire family that has the exact same hearing loss. So typically, again, the sensory neural hearing loss, they're not medically treated. That's something that we're going to look at, hearing devices or assistive listening devices, different things like that. So in short, when you come in, we're ruling out the conductive. If there's conductive, we want to refer you on to your primary care physician or your ENT. And then if not, we're going to be looking at other treatment options to help with that sensory neural hearing loss, because we want to help preserve that brain function up there. If you guys have any questions at all about the differences between those, hopefully you can see this come through. Drop us a line and I'll do my best to answer them. Have a great day.